Yeah. Well, we are recording now, and I just said a rude word, at least a word that YouTube thinks is very rude, so I won't repeat that. But Mathias Treeman, that's what I like to call you, from the channel with the same name. Link in the video description. We have talked about several topics before, and we're going to talk about, I won't say the word now. We're going to talk about controversial stuff now, aren't we? Yeah.
Yes.
Because these are strange times we're living in. Um, we'll just jump straight into it. You got a letter. Well, you've gotten several notifications, letters from the NHS, haven't you?
Yes.
And
Yeah, I have.
you have one. I know you have one there. Can you show us?
I certainly can. I don't need to fully open it because you probably won't be able to see it all. I've crossed out the personal information
Yep,
because I'll have my NHS number and stuff on there.
of course.
So it's not, as you can see in the way that it is worded. Now I'll bring it away. So book your coronavirus vaccine appointment now.
It's not a
Now.
question. It's not a question.
No.
No.
Yeah.
I've gotten the same now. They sent me a text message. It was not as arrogant, but I'm sure that they will ramp up the arrogance as they do. Will not get a reply from me, but you know,
It's it's
yeah,
increasing. It's increasing because
yeah,
I've been receiving emails and text messages, and Bjorn has seen the text messages I've sent. They sent me
mm,
one on the 8th, and they also sent me one yesterday, which was a day after. I can't remember exactly the time. It was around about 9:30 at night that
yeah.
I got a text message from the NHS telling me to book it now.
You know, I think about the whole vaccine thing, that if you want to have any of these medications, let's just call it that, it's up to you. It should be an individual choice, and the government, their task should be, their mission should be to give people information, like objective information, and then you could choose. This is not that. This is something very different. Um, and I'm tempted to say we haven't seen the likes of this since, at least in Norway, it's factually true that we haven't seen anything like this since World War II, actually, when it comes to the Corona Pass, which they are rolling out. They have rolled out both in the UK and Norway as well now. It's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And it's funny, isn't it? How as soon as you were speaking about haven't seen anything since, as soon as you said them words, the immediate thing that popped into my head, and we did not speak about this off camera before, this was not mentioned. Immediate thing that popped into my head was World War II.
Hmm.
The immediate thing that popped into my head.
Yep.
And and we literally really did not speak about this off camera, about World War II, and haven't seen anything since. But as soon as Bjorn mentioned the words, have not seen anything since, this is large scale, very large scale, and 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 it's concerning. I'm concerned that I will be, and I already think it's happening, an outcast.
Well,
The thing is, I do not know anyone personally, everyone I know personally who lives around me, live or people I know, all family members, every single one of them have had it done, apart from me.
I think that. people like you and I, we will become, to some extent, outcasts if this doesn't just stop and go away, which I don't think it will, because I think this will, I don't know, of course, but I think this might get worse. I think, as I've said in one of my videos at least, that they will add information to it so that you will have a social credit score system. That's what worries me. It doesn't really worry me that much that they have this "are you vaccinated or not" thing. It's not right to do it. It's morally not right, and you can't do that really in a democracy. But it worries me most that they are going to add stuff to it. It's very easy to add.
Could you
Yeah.
mention, as you would, because it goes with what you were just saying, could you mention, because you looked into and saw that the NHS had already added things?
Yeah. I was going to mention that. Absolutely. And now I do not have a smartphone, and I don't live in the UK, so I don't have any way of fact checking this for myself. But I have been told, and it's been on talk radio and so on, that they have taken the vaccine status functionality and put it into the NHS app. Now, on the NHS app, they also have lots of other information about the individual, like mental health. They have also added, and I don't know why, alleged criminal status. Why? What? And your social contacts, your social life, and ethnicity as well. Now, when it comes to health, the only reason to add ethnicity is for, there are some diseases that, some rare diseases that you can only get if you're a certain ethnicity, or at least they are much more widespread in certain ethnicities and so on. So I see that could be a reason for that, but biometric data, that's your facial, the thing with facial recognition technology and all that. So it's scary.
Funny, you were saying in the video about the problem with having a beard and having long hair is also, well, now, when I think, I don't know, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned to you before about the job that I used to do was architectural steelwork. I worked on some of the tallest buildings in London. And on these construction sites, to get in, right, to be able to get in, you have to have a thumbprint and screen recognition, facial recognition. Now, for me, that was a nightmare because it never worked properly for me. I was always having trouble with it because, most of my life I've had long hair, and ever since I could grow some sort of beard, I've always had a beard. And the problem that always messed up on me, but that is a problem. I mean, but we're talking some years ago now. Technology has come on since. I'm not so sure. I had that. That was probably the last time I worked on a job like that was probably about 7 or 8 years ago. So, but it's concerning the gathering of information, and they want to know everything about us. I think I don't like the way that it's hard to say, it's hard to predict where this is all going, but I don't feel comfortable about it already and the direction I feel it's heading.
Well, I can tell you that I am encountering things that I really don't like on a daily basis now when it comes to, for instance, now they are saying we will install a smart meter in your house, or else we will just shut off the power to your house. So now we have to go off grid, well, which is something that we were planning to do anyway, and we have a normal house, so it's a big project. It's a big project, and of course, the fact that since I won't have these experimental medications, I will not be allowed to go where I want. I won't be allowed to travel, and I I've always liked traveling in your country, and now they're saying I can't do that. It really I have to pinch myself. Is this a dream? Is this real? Uh,
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very, very long time since I've been abroad. A
mm,
very, very long time. But I've travelled throughout the UK everywhere, because there's such a diversity actually in the UK. I mean, people in England who never go on holiday, or the UK, should I say, rather, not England, the UK itself, people who never go on holiday in the UK, who come from the UK, are missing out because there is so much diversity
yeah.
within the UK.
Mm,
But my dream has always been to travel to Scandinavia, and I haven't been yet, and that's always my dream. Now I feel like the closest I could ever get to Scandinavia, or feel like I was ever in there, was when I was in the Highlands. So I don't think I'm starting to think I'm never going to get there.
well, I am hopeful, of course, and I think we should be, but it's not moving in the right direction now. And what makes me so annoyed is that the mainstream media, politicians, and these people, what they are saying on a daily basis is that it is moving in the right direction now. Because if you're fully vaccinated, you can now travel, you can do this and that, and I I try not to curse, but
Mm.
this annoys me because how is that moving in the right direction? Now again, I think if people really want to have this done with the vaccines and all that, that's up to them. It should be a free choice. But to say that you have to have this done in order to travel, in order to do this, in order to do that, it's such an extreme measure. Why can't people see this? Why can't they see what this really is? Now, and
Yeah,
it doesn't really have anything to do with your view on the vaccines. It's about something different. And as you said, they are harvesting information now like we've never seen the likes of. It's insane. And people are still just buying into this while they are installing these, what's Alexa, is that what it's called? The Amazon thing that you
Alexis, yeah,
you can talk to it, yeah,
yeah.
which is now going
No,
to, I mean,
no,
yeah,
there
go
was a
on.
story. There was a story of a family. They were slagging their other family members off, slagging. Just so if anyone doesn't understand that English term, they were saying bad things about their family members. But Alexa picked up on it and called the family members, thinking that's what they wanted. And the family, it was in the UK papers, and the other family members heard their other family members slagging them off.
Okay. Well, I,
Sorry, yeah, sorry for
no,
cutting
no,
on
no,
there.
that's actually very funny. Uh, um, I, I think that people are so lazy when it comes to entertainment, their life in general. Now, I'm not talking about the people who are still watching this video, still listening to this. I'm not talking about that at all, because if the people who are buying into the whole thing, they have probably unliked and moved on a few minutes ago. But but we all know the kind of people we're talking about here, and it is rather scary that how can you be so mindless when there is so much proper information out there? How can you just buy into this? Now,
it's
Yeah.
can I say something?
Yeah,
How
sure.
you can you remember when, like back in the late 90s and early 2000s, that you would have the mobile phones like what you've probably got and the Nokia 3310 that I use. There was warnings on bus stops, on TV and newspapers about long-term uses of them.
Yeah.
Now that slowly disappeared. Now there is still a risk of using that, and we know this that as within the information's there. It's just not easy to get to on on a smartphone. It's not easy to get to where the information is, but and you can find YouTube videos about where to find that. By the way, you just have to search it, do a bit of research. But what it is people ignore the bad sides because they just look at the positives and just forget about the bad side of using certain things. I think it's like you say, it's laziness. It's easier. Whatever we think makes our lives easier, even if there's negatives to it, we push the negatives aside, and we will only listen to the scientists in the end that say, well, I don't really see there's an issue with it. They'll listen to them scientists over the scientists who are, even if it's a small group of scientists saying no. It's like when Albert Einstein said, I think that was to do with his theory of relativity or something like that. 100 German scientists said, had written and saying that they think it was wrong. And Albert Einstein said, why 100? I only needed one. I know this is getting, the topic is sort of like, moving around a little bit here, but I think people ignore as a little bit like, if there's like, people ignore in the Western world, they're cheap materials being produced by people who are basically living really horrible lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's an
Yeah.
example. I just use that as an example of how people ignore the bad because they just want to look at the good part of it.
Yeah, I'll just give you one example because this is something I looked into a lot, preparing for the interview with Uyghur refugee here. I made a video about that, and the Uyghurs are in China are treated horribly, put in concentration camps, and so on, and forced to make stuff for several companies, Nike or Nike, Nike being one of them. This information is not difficult to find. It's really easy to find actually. So and it's just one example. Apple is another example. There are lots of these companies doing that. They are using. They are collaborating with companies in China using slave labor. How fake is it when they are like Nike? They are promoting what's it called? The Black Lives Matter thing. They kneel in football and all that. This guy with the big hair, I can't remember his name. But
I've seen it. I watched the England. I'm not big on football, but I watched the England game the other day, and they took the knee, and the fans booed.
Yeah, I actually saw that. Yeah, but it's so fake when they use slave labor in China. It's based on your race. It's based on pure evil racism, and Nike is fine with that. But they will virtue signal in our part of the world. To me, it just makes me sick. Why can't people spend a little bit of time, just a little bit of time, and if they really care about something like racism, again, off topic a little bit, but if people care about racism, they shouldn't care about some millionaires kneeling on a football field. They should care about Nike using slave labor from China, because that is actually racism.
Yeah.
It's a definition of racism what's going on there. And also we are so happy to use this facial recognition technology. You know, it was developed they use that to recognize the ethnic features of the Uyghurs in China, because they are not allowed to leave certain areas. So the cameras will pick up, oh, there's a Uyghur going there, and they will alert the authorities. That's actually true. It's very easy to find out. Now, I'm passionate about that cause, so I went off trail here.
No, this is a true topic to talk about. If it doesn't bring a tear someone's eye, to just stop. All of these brands that are using basically slave labor, basically, you know, whether even if it's got fair trade stamped on it, doesn't mean that it's really fair. Are they really getting a good deal? Some of these people. And Vegas, is that how you pronounce it? Vegas?
I think so. I think that's the English pronunciation, which is very different from the Norwegian pronunciation for some reason. But it's a Muslim, mostly Muslim ethnic group in China. They're not all Muslims, but it's an ethnic group. Yeah.
If it's not enough to just stop and just take a minute and think about what them people must be going through. And we humans have great imagination, so it isn't hard if you just stop for a minute and think about it. It's enough to bring a blooming tear to your eye. You know, I very closely, I nearly swore then.
Yeah.
I watched something the other day. I didn't purposely look for it, but I watched something where this guy was going to meet the Pygmy people in the Congo. And what's going on there is just like, how is this going on in the world where people are just getting killed and nothing's getting done about it, and they're being robbed? The militia there just for one, they just take money continuously off people who travel through there, and then at night time the same army men turn into gangs that go and steal and rob off people and kill them. And I watched this whole thing, and it's when you're watching something and you don't want to watch it at the same time, and that's when you know you should be watching it.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I went off.
No. We are actually right on track here, because China is something that we need to discuss. Now, we are now, I believe, allowed by the Masters of the Universe, also known as the YouTube algorithm, allowed to talk about the lab leak theory. And I'll just go out on a limb here. It's a very thick and solid limb, I would say, but I'll go out on that limb anyway and say that people who still believe in the bat theory of the, I love to say this, the China virus. If you believe that now, you're not informed. You're ignorant. So it's about time to say that, okay, this we believe in the lab leak theory, and I'll just make a little test now here on YouTube. The China virus came from a lab in Wuhan. So we'll see how that goes. But I've been told that we are allowed to say that now. Yeah, no, go on. No, please go
on. Two right. One, you should be allowed to say it.
Yeah.
And why not? I mean, for a start, I mean, if you really think about it, taking everything else aside, which I'm in 100% agreeing with what Bjorn just said, but I'm just saying this. So no matter what, it came from China and as a virus. So no one's really wrong if they ever have said the Chinese virus, the China virus. It came from, I mean, that they started calling, before this was allowed to be said on YouTube, everyone was talking about the Indian variant. So you're allowed to say, and you weren't allowed to say China virus, but you could say Indian variant, which is double standards.
It is.
But reeling it back again, isn't it funny how when Donald Trump said it, it was a conspiracy theory, no, I better not say that Donald Trump said it, and it was a conspiracy theory. You weren't allowed. So there was a few people at the very beginning saying that on YouTube, and it got stopped. I can't remember whether you did or not, Bjorn. I know you got some videos taken down over the whole different areas. But soon as Biden said it, and all the media were against Trump when he said it, but then Joe Biden says it, it's acceptable. It's now acceptable that we are having this conversation because Joe Biden said so.
Yeah, the genius Joe Biden said it. So now we're allowed to think that it might have come from a lab. Again, if you look into it, the information is out there. It's very difficult actually to hide information when there is so much of it out there on the internet. Especially if you don't use the Google machine. If you use another search machine, it helps a lot, I find. But it is interesting with Trump. It's like if he said that the world is actually round, certain people would have said, well, it might be flat. I think he's wrong. It's it's interesting how this will develop, because I think if the international community does not demand some kind of what's the word, reparations, that's what they say, from China, I don't think they will, but it's going to do something with our trust in our governments, which there isn't much of anyway, but it's going to, kill off the last remaining part of our trust, if there is any still. Maybe there are no more trust left, but yeah. Can we move on to another subject?
Could I before we finish, if there was some sort of trial to be held, when was the last time in history that such a thing had happened?
Well, we all know the answer to that, I guess.
Finished.
Yeah.
That's all I want to say.
That was in Nuremberg. Yeah, it was. We'll see what happens. Yeah. The UFOs.
Yes.
It's a bit more, light-hearted subject, because it's funny in a way, and it's a bit exciting. And I don't think the Pentagon, aren't they going to come out with a report in a few days from now?
Well, they should do, because the information being supplied to them was made unclassified.
Yeah.
A former, I think he worked in the military, and then he was working in the Pentagon. And just before he left the Pentagon, he got the classified. So we should get a report, yes, or have access to it.
Well, we'll just have to add this, because it's to our conversation now, because it's something that everyone is talking about. And now, I have a favorite theory about aliens. What's your favorite theory?
my favourite theory. Um, my favourite theory is that the moon is actually a space station.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because it's hollow, or it's got big hollow parts in it. Because when they left the moon, they left seismographs. I think that, yeah, seismographs on the moon, and they dropped parts of the lander onto the moon, and the moon vibrated for hours. And this happened on more than one occasion. And then they dropped a bigger one and it vibrated for days, apparently. So people have come up with this theory because it is quite an astonishing thing, the moon. It's the only reason we get an eclipse, and it's the only moon that does it in the whole solar system, is because it's, I don't know, something to do with its distance from Earth times so and so is the same distance from the sun, or its size. Something there's a mathematical equation which is quite makes the moon very unique,
Really?
very unique. And yeah, I can't. I'll send it to you afterwards.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember it off the top of my head. But which does make the moon quite unique, and the whole theory of how the moon got to where it is still a little bit up for debate in some reasons. But I don't believe that there's. I have to admit, I don't believe that there's aliens or advanced humans living in the inside of the moon, and it's actually a Death Star, a happy Death Star, because it hasn't destroyed us, floating around us.
I'll just present some of the theories that people most likely know already about the aliens, that they are us, or are in the future humanity have solved they can travel in time, so they're coming back to check on us, and they are worried about the climate and all that. That's one theory. Another theory, which is quite intriguing, is that these are entities or beings living in a world with more dimensions. We have like four, up and sideways and depth and time, but they have more. So what when they are traveling into our world, it's like if we were to encounter a two-dimensional world, like a piece of paper lying on the ground, and we would peek down and see people moving there on that piece of paper. So what would happen if you poked your finger through it, because it hasn't any depth, right? Only two dimension. What would those people see? Well, they would see a cross section of your finger as you're poking your finger through their two-dimensional world. So these, if these images, videos, and so on, if they are real, the theory says that's what we are seeing, because these are beings from maybe a 10-dimensional world or 30-dimensional world, and they're just poking through our world occasionally, and that's why they can move around so quickly and just vanish suddenly. But my favorite theory, and it's a spooky one, is that it's actually the aliens are, well, what happened was that back in time, and of course this is just nonsense, of course, but it's funny. So before history, there was a big war between aliens and humans, with spaceships and everything. And the UFOs are actually not aliens, but the humans coming back. They have been away for many years, like hundreds of years, thousands of years. They have built they are building a fleet of starships, warships, to take back the world, because we are the aliens, and we won. And now they're coming back to kill us all and chase us away, and take back the Earth. That's my favorite theory.
Yeah. I like that one too. That's almost a little bit reminiscent of the Anunnaki sort of, that they were aliens and that they come and subjugated us or made us a bit more intelligent so we could mine for gold for them. And then there was a big war between them, and then I don't know, they're waiting for Planet X or Nibiru or whatever it's called to come. I don't know. I'm not a real big conspiracy theory alien person, but I do delve into little bits because I find the history part interesting. Like, the history. If you research and you want to know about the ancient Sumerians and stuff like that and the Anunnaki, you're always going to come across ancient alien theories.
Yeah.
Because if you do proper in-depth research, you're going to come up with theories from the left to the right, in the middle, backwards and front. If you do proper research, the only way I know I'm going a little bit off here, but it's just for, in my experience, if you research something and you only read what's in here and just this and go, yeah, right, I know about that now, then you don't know nothing about the subject.
Really.
Yeah. What you know is a tiny amount. So doing a wide range of research, even sometimes coming across some, right, okay, sometimes I might listen to something and be like, that theory's way out of this world, I don't believe that. But you do ask an interesting question. That's where you start finding interesting things. Just because the question is interesting doesn't mean that their theory is correct, though. Sorry, I went off on one there.
No, that's absolutely. I absolutely agree. And there is this other thing, that people are saying about the UFOs, that it's a diversion, that they are trying to make us forget about the other important stuff that's going on, the stuff that we were just talking about. I don't know. I tend to think that things are not as planned as the conspiracy theorists, the true conspiracy theorists, tend to think. That sometimes things just happen, and it's not according to a grand plan. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I would be willing to bet money on that what Pentagon is going to say is that we have observed some objects and we can't identify them. We don't know what they are. That's all. We can't explain it. That's all. Have a good night.
Yeah. I think I want to remember to come back to, so if I forget, Bjorn, after what I'm going to say about conspiracy theory, just that word, that'll remind me if I forget after what I'm about to say. My opinions on this, all of a sudden talking about UFO sightings, which have been around for a long time. People have heard about them. Why is it suddenly that they're taking an interest? I don't think they're taking an interest because they want to find out more. They already know as much as they can and will continue to learn as much as they can about if anything shouldn't be flying around but it is. And they already know about all of this stuff. They already have specialist sections within governments that research all sorts of different strange things. That's what they do. They keep their feelers out. But why release it to us? Because, and I agree with you as well, Bjorn, I don't think these are well thought out conspiracy theory about this, well thought out and planned, has come out exactly as I think more of a thing is just like, what can we use? I know, let's use this. This will distract people. They already knew about it. I mean, it's just my opinion. They already knew about it, and they want people to know. Yes, it is happening. That's what they want. I think that's where they're heading with it. They want to say to people, yes, it is happening. Book closed. Now, keep that in the back of your mind. And who you've got to look up to if anything ever goes wrong? Your governments, the people who have the power over you. Keeping the one thing that the way control has worked through the last several thousand years is by controlling the general public with religion, by the sword, all different sorts of ways. But you have to control the public. The public are not allowed to think outside the box. We need them to be in line. We need to know everything that what's going on with them. We need to know how to manipulate and sell things to them, and it's all. I think the UFO thing is just another tool in their toolbox to play with the public. And just a little note at the end on, I did remember. So me and Bjorn may have different opinions maybe on some topics, and probably a lot of topics we agree on. But I would say we're not conspiracy theorists. And I'm sorry to talk to you, Bjorn, but I'm sure you probably agree. We are skeptical about some things in life, and it's healthy to be skeptical. To be skeptical does not make you a conspiracy theorist.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. When it comes to the UFOs, I know for a fact what they are, and I've known for many years, and and of course the government won't say what they are. I know for a fact what they are. It's the Vikings. They solved how to travel in time. So they've been just going, having a fun time partying in the future. They're coming back now, and the Viking age will now very soon continue. So I'm looking forward to that.
Me too, me too. As long as they remember that some of my ancestry comes from Scandinavia, so when you come pillage, I'll be on your side.
Well,
but England does get a good bashing from the Vikings, no matter who's here. So I might be in trouble.
well, I'm sorry about that. It's been a few years, so
we were under Danelaw here.
Mm.
Well, you think really? Well, the East Angles who settled here, they came from southern Denmark and northern Germany, who settled here originally. Then a lot of their ancestors came over and fought with them anyway.
Yeah, well, they did, and well, actually, if you look at the DNA, it's very, very common for Danish people and Norwegians to have shared DNA with the people in Britain. So, because there's been interaction, mostly peaceful, of course, through so many years. That's we're basically almost the same people genetically. My family on my father's side came from Britain in the 1500s. At least one branch of my family. So and you most likely have a lot of ancestry in my part of the North Sea. That's how it is. But we'll wrap this up because there's something that happens when these videos get too long, and people they say, "Oh, that's a long video. I won't watch that." Sometimes it's like that, but I would like to.
One the other day, you done a video the other day with somebody. I still haven't watched that yet, so I didn't know if you just wanted to quickly mention that you made the video. What channel was it?
No, I just I made the recording actually earlier today because the first recording, the sound was not good.
The guy in South Africa.
Oh yeah, sure, yes, on Citizen Guardian, survivalist and prepper in South Africa. So that was very interesting.
I haven't listened yet.
Yeah, that was on his channel.
Yeah. I just thought I'd mention it, just in case anyone else hasn't seen it yet.
Yeah. And also, I would like to say that as we are speaking, you are approaching 1,000 subscribers, which is, of course, a milestone. And so to anyone listening or watching, if I haven't said so already, then please go and subscribe. You will find the link in the video description. Let's help Mathias get to 1,000 subscribers, and that's only the start. I really like your channel. You have a natural presence on video, which is not something that everyone has, you know. So that's awesome. Just
Thank you,
want to
Con.
say that. But okay. I'm sure if I say, do you have anything to add? There
Yeah.
are lots we could talk about here. The good thing about what's happening around us now is that there are so many things are happening. So at least these are interesting times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have one very small thing, and I will promise to keep it small, and that's important. Technology has a good side, and it is great. We wouldn't be able to do this without it, and I wouldn't have been able to have a friendship with somebody in Norway without it, and which is just fantastic. But there's also another side to having this technology. Being aware and remember that it can take away the one with nature side of you that you must always keep replenished by going out into the woods or even in your garden, encouraging wildlife to your gardens if you live in suburban areas, because them areas have been taken over, which they were once wild time ago. Put wild species in there, wild plants, that's it.
Yep.
Look after nature and it'll look after you.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Absolutely. Well, thanks for taking the time to have this conversation with me here. And I'll say it again. Everyone, go and subscribe to Mathias Treeman. It's a great channel. So yeah. Okay. Let's wrap this up before we are at 50 minutes now. And thank you for thanks to Matt or Mathias for this awesome conversation, and thanks to everyone still watching or listening for your patience. We tend to get off, you know, into on a sidetrack, and that's how it is, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Have a nice day.
Take care.